Okay, so what I did with mine is once it came up to a boil, I let it boil for 5 minutes, turned off the heat, took the actual pot away from the heat and let it sit for about another 2-3 minutes in the pot, and then I just ran it under some cool water. Now this is a step you don't have to do. I've made this many times where I just dealt with it all raw. The only issue with that is the mess ultimately, and it takes a little bit longer. So by doing what I did, it just softened them up somewhat. It does help lose some of the bleeding that comes from it, right? It's a very messy vegetable. I mean, it's probably one of my favorite vegetables, though. It's super sweet. It has such an amazing flavor to it. But so by boiling it a little bit, you do lose some of it. You can see you're always going to have a bit, but it does reduce it quite a bit. And it softens it some, so it's not going to roast in the oven as long. Okay, so we are all set to get started to put these together to get them seasoned and roasted in the oven. My oven is preset at 375. I want a little bit of color on the outside. I want a little bit of, it's almost going to be like kind of candied in a way because I'm using some Canadian maple syrup in this recipe. This is kind of my go-to for it. I'll often use a little bit of brown sugar too. And I mean, I love beets. I love them any way I can get them. I love them pickled. I'll eat a whole jar myself. I'm going to start with some of this thyme that I have here, okay? So this is a dried thyme. You can do like before, you just rub it in your hand to get it going, but I decided to put it in here because it's tend to what I usually do, but that was just a little tip for you guys in an earlier video. So thyme is a very earthy flavor. If you have fresh, it's actually 100% better to put fresh thyme in here than the dried. But it can be overused. It complements it well with anything that's a root vegetable. Root vegetables and thyme and stews that have root, stews usually do have root vegetables. And they have potatoes and they have carrots and, turnips and all sorts of different types of root, parsnips. So it complements it well. It has that earthy flavor, but it can be overdone. I've found many times where people go a little overboard with the dried. The dried has a more concentrated flavor, so keep that in mind when you are adding your thyme to anything. Fresh has a milder, it's a better flavor for sure, but not everyone can get fresh, obviously, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put this in there. I've ground it up just a little bit in the mortar and pestle, not too much. But I'm not going to put that whole bit in there because I only have a little bit here. That's a pinch. That's not even a measurement that I can say. I'm going to put, again with the salt, I'm probably going to put about not even half a teaspoon, like maybe a quarter of a teaspoon of salt I'm going to put in there. I'm going to use some canola oil. You can use olive oil if you prefer. Canola, vegetable oil, all works just as well. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little bit of some maple syrup. Not too much again. That's probably about a large teaspoon. And then I'm going to add some cracked black pepper. Okay, and then we're just going to mix. And I'm just going to get it all on my roasting pan. I'm going to put all my flat surfaces down. And I'm going to throw this in my 375 Fahrenheit oven. And I'm going to put it in for, it's probably only going to take about 20 to 25 minutes. Whatever texture that you like is what you're going to cook yours to, okay? And mine's already, it's par cooked, so it's going to be a little bit quicker. And I'll show you what it looks like once it comes out of the oven, okay? Okay, good to go. Oh, they look so good.
Check out my live plating for this on Halo and the Hammer.